Hi, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to the You Are an Overcomer workshop. I'm so glad that you are with me today as we continue on with this workshop, this 5 week workshop that it has been put on my heart to do. And I hope you are getting a lot from it so far. I hope that you got a lot from it last week. We started last week on Monday, and we started with growth key number one, which was know who you are. And throughout the week, I shared some things. I posted some things. I posted I think I did a reel. We did some homework, and I hope if you did the homework, I hope you got something great from that. So we did the homework. I shared some things throughout the week. So that's basically how it's gonna go. And I'll play it by ear too. If there's more, I'll post more. If something comes up in my heart to share, I'll share it. Or another idea that it comes to me, I'll share that as well. But I feel good about this workshop and what God is going to be doing through it, what God has already done through it. So I just get ready for more, and we're gonna jump into this next session with great expectations and the hope that we will get much from it, and God will move in our lives so we can start walking as an overcomer. So that's why, again, I named the workshop "You Are an Overcomer." We are overcomers, even if we are in the midst of a difficult season in our lives. We are already overcomers. And just to review a little bit about session one, know who you are. Knowing who you are is important in your walk in life. Knowing who you are, and I'm not talking about your job title, not talking about your role, not talking about what you do, but who you really are. Knowing that we are children of God, knowing that we are chosen, we are holy, we are created in the image of God, we are spirit beings having this human experience. So just knowing all of that so we can approach life in this firm and confident way and walking in our purpose and doing the things that He created for us to do, right? And when we come across difficult circumstances in our lives, we know who we are. We know uh, who is our foundation, and we know how we can approach that with confidence and with boldness because of who we are and that we are already overcomers as well. So that was session one. Starting session two, practicing self care. So just again, the foundation of this workshop is the book Unlock Your Voice Volume 2, Mantles, Mandates, and Motherhood. And that's the book that I co-authored with a few other women, and it was released in March of this year. So that is the foundation of this workshop. And I want to reiterate the how great this book is. And not just for me, but for the other authors as well, how we poured our hearts into this book project and shared our life experiences and what we've learned from it and what we wanted to share with the world on how they can overcome things in their lives as well. And the great thing about this book is that it is not only moving and emotional life stories, but it also gives practical keys and action steps to help you get through difficult life circumstances. So it's not just our life stories, it includes things that you can actually do in order to help you in your life. So growth key number two, practice self-care. And along with this growth key, my chapter, all the chapters include some action steps, some actual, point by point action steps. So I'm going to include one of my action steps along with this growth key. And the action step is choose you. And I think that goes along with self care because in order for us to practice self care, we have to choose ourselves. We have to choose us. So, and I'll get into that in a bit. But our focus is self care. All right. So I do want to, and I didn't do this last week, I do want to read what I wrote under this section from my book. from this book project. All right. So, 'cause I wanted to share with you some of the things that I um, was doing and not practicing self-care that was um, starting to be um, a detriment to me. So I wanted to in my book in this book chapter is more so my my viewpoint of what I was going through and not practicing self-care and not really as much tips for self-care, which I will be talking about in this session. But I'm gonna read it. So if you have your book, you can follow along. If you don't, that's fine too. And again, if you want the book, just contact me and I can get it to you. So growth key number 2, practice self-care. Make self-care a priority. When my kids went back to school in 2023, everything was on me. I got their supplies, clothes, and paperwork, and I went to parent meetings. It was my youngest daughter's first time going to school. I felt emotional about my daughters growing up. This was happening while my husband's court date came and went. I prayed and fasted. I believe in a move of God in the situation. When it did not turn out how we hoped, I still had everything to tend to. I was on autopilot and not taking care of myself. By the end of August, I broke down. During therapy, a sudden flow of tears came out that I could barely stop. I realized how much I was ignoring myself because people needed me. My husband needed me. My daughters needed me. And I was okay with them needing me. However, when you are constantly giving at the expense of yourself, it takes a toll. You cannot fully be there for anyone else or yourself when you are not taking care of yourself. That was an eye opener. I needed to take care of myself, not just for me, but for my children too. So, some of you know by now some of the things that's been going on. Not in great detail, but some of the things that has been going on with me in my life. And y'all know that some of you know that my husband has been incarcerated. Um, but that all of that was a struggle for me. Dealing with different things that was still happening in life, and along with that, and balancing, the kids and what they're doing, my responsibilities, work. We have all of us have a lot of things going on in our lives. We all have our own thing that we are trying to overcome, things that we are struggling with, but it's a matter of how we are, handling those things. So, as I shared, in my chapter, I was there for everyone else and not taking time for myself. And it's not that I shouldn't have been there for my family. I didn't mind it. I didn't mind being there for any one of them. Um, but the choice I made in being on autopilot and doing everything for everybody else instead of taking care of take care of me, um, that took a toll. So, self-care is so important. So it was a choice that I made. Sometimes we feel like we just need to push through, right? Many times we feel like we just need to get it done. It doesn't matter what's happening with us as individuals. We need to be there for our family. We need to be there for other people. We need to sacrifice ourselves in order for things to, um, get done. Um, so, you know, I was taking care of all of the responsibilities except for me, which is an important part because if I'm not healthy and well, then what's going to happen to the responsibilities that I'm trying to take care of? So we get these messages, right? We get these messages and teachings that we need to sacrifice ourselves, especially as women, um, and mothers, and if we're caretakers, We are the people, we are the ones that's more likely to say, I'll get to myself later. I'll take care of everybody else. The kids are the priority. Family is the priority. I'll if I got to get a little time at the end of the day, if I don't, you know, whatever, you know. But it's important to prioritize ourselves, and I learned that um, last year. I learned that from my own experience as I shared. Um, but like I said, we get those messages and teachings that we need to sacrifice ourselves, that we are being selfish if we prioritize ourselves. Like that is ungodly. But the Bible speaks about, us taking care of ourselves, loving ourselves. The Bible even says obedience is better than sacrifice. So we need to be obedient to what God says about how we are to love, and that includes loving ourselves. That includes taking care of ourselves. When we are always sacrificing ourselves, putting other people first, other things first, it can lead to health issues. It can lead to anxiety. It can lead to depression. It can lead to burnout, relational distress, and so much more. And a lot of times when we think about self-care, we think about, I'm going to take some time to take a bath, or I'm going to take my time and go to the salon, or things like that. But self-care is a lifestyle. Effective self-care is a lifestyle. God wants us to take care of ourselves too. And I did go through, and I do want to share two scriptures with you today. There is so much more, like I said, that you can look into in the Bible about how we are to take care of ourselves as well. But I wanted to point out these two. And the first one is from Proverbs 4:23. Keep vigilant, keep vigilant, keep vigilant, watch over your heart. That's where life starts. Um, all right, that's from the Message version. And I'll read it again. Keep vigilant, watch over your heart. That's where life starts. We can give life to different things. We can give life to healthy things, and we can give life to unhealthy things. If you watch, keep watch over your heart, guard your heart, and watch over your heart. That's an important priority, because with that, those influences, negative thinking, negative speaking, negative environments, that gets into our hearts if we don't guard it. So we have to care for our hearts. If we don't care for our hearts, those negative things are just gonna become in it, dwell in it, and it becomes us. And then other bad habits come from that. And some of the things that I have shared, that I have struggled with as well, that I've shared some of it on my podcast too, is comparison, the comparison trap, perfectionism, people pleasing, because we are not keeping watch, we are not being on guard with our hearts and letting these other influences get in. And then we feel some type of way about seeing somebody else doing this, or that we're not living up to what is expected from other people, from other people, or we're trying to please other people instead of prioritizing God and what He wants for our lives. So we gotta keep watch over our hearts. And the other one is Luke 10:27, and it says, He answered, Love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your strength, and with all your mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. So, particularly the second part, love your neighbor as yourself, implies that we love ourselves, right? It's natural to love ourselves. And what does it mean to love ourselves? We want to treat ourselves well. We want to be kind to ourselves. We want to treat ourselves respectfully. So we want to treat others, love others as yourself. So self-care. Um, and me being having a counselor background, there's things that, I just talk about all the time about, self-care and what, tips and things that we can do to self-care. But the self-care, like I said, is not just a temporary thing. It's not just doing one thing and expecting all of, everything to be fine. But self-care, like I said, is a lifestyle and things that we can do and implement in our lives that best works for us. It doesn't mean that one person doing this thing this way is going to work for another person. Do what works for you, but knowing that self-care and you are a priority. So self-care includes taking care of your body, mind, soul, spirit. So taking that time to rest. Taking that time to rest, even if that means just a few minutes. And I'm not saying replace your sleep time with just a few minutes. We've had, if you've been, into any research things lately, we know the importance of sleep. There's been studies out recently on the importance of sleep and how sleep deprivation affects a lot of different areas in our bodies. But you get the adequate amount of sleep, but you need to rest. And now, when I say rest, that includes resting your mind. Not necessarily going to sleep, but you need to rest. Rest your body, rest your mind. And we say, I don't have time to rest. Because like I said, I'm taking care of everything. You're taking care of everything. You have your job, you have the kids. So as soon as you come home from work, you gotta, do homework. You have to, um, get dinner ready and get the kids ready for bed and all of those things. And I can catch myself saying got to or have to, because in the past I have talked about how we get to. We are blessed to be able to do those things. It's changing perspective. But it's a choice that we have to make to find time to rest. Like I made a choice to prioritize everything else except myself. It may seem like it's not really a choice, but it is a choice because you can, find something somewhere to change in your lifestyle to have for yourself. Not resting means you're choosing to take a chance on your mental health, physical health, emotional health, psychological health, spiritual health, because you're probably not prioritizing that. But it can lead to mental breakdowns, anxiety, sickness, a weakened immune system, other physical health issues. And you may say, I've been fine. My health hasn't been really affected, but it'll catch up with you. So taking that time for yourself, to care for yourself, making sure you're okay for yourself and for the people around you, the people that's depending on you. That's so important. I want to share this. So, like I said, not resting and being stressed out, things like that can have an effect on your body. Um, last year or so, yeah, last year, I was dealing with some of my hair was coming out. And I was like, this kind of, it was in the area where it's like a hereditary thing, from one of my parents. I was like, oh, that's just, I'm gonna get aging, getting older, and um, that's part of, that part of my head is, just shedding some hair because I'm getting older. And now it's growing back, but then it was pointed out to me how stressful a time I was dealing with in my life at the time, and how I've, learned that stress affects your body. Stress affects your hair. Your hair can start falling out when you're stressed out. And like I said, part of it is growing back. Now it's under there. But I was like, you know what? I have been stressed out. You know, my hair falling out might be connected to that. And it was kind of an eye opener for me too when I really thought about it that way. Because, you know, I'm here dealing with a bunch of different things and thinking one thing, but really, this is affecting my body. I really thought I was okay, but, I wanted to make sure I was okay. I actually started making sure I was up to date on my wellness checkups and everything, making sure my blood pressure was good and, all this kind of stuff. So, making sure you are okay and taking that time for yourself because stress, it can cause a lot of different issues in your life. So get the rest you need. Prioritize rest, okay? So some other things that you can do: exercising, eating healthy, going for a walk, taking that time for yourself to, um, you know, take care of yourself. Going for a walk, going for a short walk, getting some fresh air, feeling the sun on your skin, or, different things that you can do for yourself. Take time to read a book. One thing that was demonstrated to me when I was in class teaching one of my classes last year, and we had a guest speaker. Um, we did some breath work. It's called breathing, and it's where you breathe in, hold your breath for 5 seconds, and then slowly breathe out for 5 seconds, and then hold. And I'm not going to demonstrate it now, but it's just taking that time to actually breathe, and how we actually don't take the time to just relax and breathe, and how that affects our body whenever we actually take the time to just breathe, and taking just 3 to 5 minutes to just do that, and feel how your body reacts to that. The other thing, the obvious, praying, meditating, um, that is, you know, what I talk about all the time, our foundation, you know, trusting in God, taking the time to pray, asking God to help you with certain things, and meditating, taking that time to really listen to what God is telling you. Practice gratitude, take hobbies. Take the time for some hobbies, even if, like, what you talking about, taking time for hobbies. I'm already dealing with all this and that. But taking a few minutes to do something you enjoy. Doing something that fulfills you. And that's where I want to add in that action step that I mentioned earlier about choosing you. Doing something that fulfills you. Maybe it's something that you have been putting on the back burner. It's something that you've been wanting to do. Maybe a course that you want to take. Something, a class that you want to take. Something that's interesting to you. Something that'll help you grow and develop. Something that has been just on your mind to do that you haven't been doing because you've been taking care of everything and everybody else. Say yes to yourself and take that time for you to self-care for you. Because when you do that, you will have this sense of, okay, I'm taking time for me too. doing something that's fulfilling for me, and that'll give you some joy as well. But something else as far as that'll help you out is setting boundaries. Some of us don't know how to say no. When you are self-caring, you have to know how to say no. Staying firm on your values, staying firm on your needs, staying firm on your beliefs and your opinions. Not letting somebody else overbear you with what they need from you or their opinion about, what they need in their life, and consuming all of what they need instead of what you need. So set some boundaries, communicate clearly. And when we don't set boundaries, you can start feeling used, overextended, resentful, burnt out. So part of self-care is setting those boundaries, knowing when to say no, knowing when to have, you know, speaking up for yourself, knowing your values, your needs, and standing firm on them. Because you matter too. That's the whole thing. You matter too. Some other things you can do is connect with a friend. I know sometimes when we're going through some difficult things and just have a lot of responsibilities to take care of, we just put um, our friends or our social life on the back burner. I did. I was just dealing with so much stuff. My friend, I wasn't taking the time to, go out and have lunch with, my friend, which is something that can help rejuvenate you as well. Having that connectedness with a friend, having a connectedness with a community. Maybe you're a part of a group or an organization or a church. Being connected with something that can help rejuvenate and fulfill you. And I share this as well. The last thing that I'll share is therapy. And I'll share it with you all that I have been in therapy. I've been in therapy for almost 2 years now, actually. And it has been helpful for me. Like I said, and I share this in my book, sometimes counselors need counseling too. And that's so true. And another counselor told me that. Are you seeing a therapist? Are you going to counseling? Because sometimes we need help processing life too. Sometimes we have difficult things that we just need to get out and talk about as well. So using that as a tool. Sometimes that can be a controversial thing for people in the church for whatever reason, but therapy is a tool to be used to help you process things in your life. So that's what it is. It's a tool that we can use to help us through, um, you know, different things in our lives. It doesn't always have to be so deep of things. Sometimes it can just be, things that you just need some insight on, whatever it is. But I want you to know to practice self-care, because you don't want to get to this place where you're having health issues. You don't want to get to this place where you're resentful and you're just angry all the time and not having a good relationship with others, and you're just not living a joyful life. That's what happens whenever you don't care for yourself. If you feel like that you are dealing with it okay, and then all of a sudden it catches up with you. But, just my encouragement to practice self-care. Do those things. And again, I don't name every single thing here when I'm speaking to you, but if there is something else that you can look up and find out what's best for you to help you practice self-care. But I do want to emphasize the importance of taking that time for self-care so you can avoid the other consequences that goes along with not doing so. So That is growth key number 2. Practice self-care. And I want you to, um, like I did last week, I am going to assign some homework as well this week. So, and again, if you don't have the workbook for this workshop, you can go to the file section of this group, and there is a workbook that you can download. You can print it if you want to, or just look at it and write down your notes in a notebook. It doesn't matter. But what I want you to do this week is to actually pinpoint things that you would like to do to self-care. Like I said, not everything works for everybody. Some things work for you, some things work for other people. But I want you to pinpoint one or two things that you would enjoy doing in practicing self-care for yourself. Actually write it down and make a plan in your week when you're going to do that. So if you're a person that has a calendar, put it on your calendar. If you have a written calendar, if you have it in your phone, whatever it is, write down what you want to do and when you're going to do it to practice self-care. And in every session, there's a space for you to write a prayer. So write a prayer concerning self-care. Write a prayer concerning how, if you need help with um, overcoming some things that you have struggled with concerning your schedule, your responsibilities, how you God needs to reveal to you how to make a way for you to take this time to self-care. And you just don't know, but write down a prayer to God that will help you in this area of your life. All right. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. You can send me a DM if you have any questions. And again, if you want the book, you can grab that. Send me a DM about that, and I'll pin or I'll put the link in the comment section as well if you would like a copy of the book from me. And that'll be a signed paperback copy whenever you get it from me. All right, so I hope y'all have a good rest of your day. And again, practice your self-care. I love you all, and have a good one. See you next week.